I'm Glenn McGinnis, and this is Outburst. This week, are curfews and lockdowns the right approach?
I don't know if it will be the best thing to do.
I think they're necessary.
I feel as though there's inconsistencies within the restrictions.
I think everybody should be able to police themselves.
But first, even though Canada was one of the first countries to approve the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines, there have been some setbacks in getting those vaccines into Canada through production issues. And this has some people wondering about Canada's accuracy in vaccine predictions. As of the end of January, Canada placed 20th worldwide in terms of getting vaccines administered to people, falling far behind other developed nations. So, are we going fast enough? Our question. How do you feel about the pace of the vaccine rollout?
I was hoping it'd be a little bit faster, but I'm healthy, so as long as it happens, I'm willing to wait. I would rather see the people that really need it get it first, so I'm happy to, stand back and wait for my position in the queue.
I feel like it should come soon, as I'm waiting for it. But I'm a little scared of the side effects because a lot of people have had severe allergic reactions. But yeah, I think that, it's the only way to get back to normal right now.
So far, I hear that it's delayed and going a bit slower than expected, but I'm very excited for all of us to get vaccinated.
You know what, I probably don't know enough to comment on it hugely. It seems like it's going okay right now. Hopefully it ramps up in the near future.
When it's available, you're going to get one?
Absolutely.
And how about you?
Same thing. I may not know a lot about how it's going on right now, but I definitely can't wait to get the vaccine for myself too, because I'm not essential worker right now. I'm not in the health department, but I do hope to get it, as soon as it's available for the rest of the population.
But you're okay with the way that the government has prioritized healthcare workers and elderly folks who are more vulnerable?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, if we don't have any health workers, then who's going to take care of us?
Well, based on what I've read from other countries, it looks like it's slowing down right now, but it looks like it's a common theme. So I would say that it's okay.
Pretty good so far. I have no complaints, but I'm also not expecting to see it myself for quite a long time. So, yeah, pretty good.
I still have parents alive, 95 and 92, in assisted living in Surrey, and they had their vaccine, the Pfizer vaccine, on Wednesday. And because there can be only one designated visitor, my sister was able to get the vaccine as well. And so for me, it's going to be a little more difficult seeing them, but it has been difficult all this time. So I was surprised at how quickly they were able to get it. We were thinking maybe early February. Yeah,
So you're very happy then with the rollout?
From a personal perspective, for my own parents, yes. Yeah, okay. I am.
I mean, it is concerning that the supply apparently doesn't meet the demand at this moment, and there's some question about back orders and so on. But that's of concern. But I think the political direction's pretty good.
I've heard it's slow, so that's all I know really, that it's slow and they're doing essential workers and older folks first. So, is that okay with you? Absolutely, yeah, definitely. It'd be better if it was faster, but I can't control that, so I guess it's okay.
I think it depends on the jurisdiction, and I think it depends on the supply. We're lucky to have a vaccine already. We need to be able to adapt to supply chain channels and supply availability of vaccine. So hopefully we will see more Canadian vaccines come on stream in the next 2 to 3 months, and that might help compensate.
No, but what can you do? I don't think they're organized quite enough to get things rolled out to different areas.
I'm not going to get the vaccine, so I don't know, and I really have no opinion.
So you're not getting the vaccine?
No.
Why not?
I have protection in faith, and I just don't believe I'm going to get it.
Well, I think the rollout of the vaccine is excellent. The only thing that concerns me is it's quite quick. It's quite quick.
Okay, you think it's fast?
Well, it's not the rollout, but the fact that this vaccine is quite quick. So I'm kind of a little bit on the edge of I'm going to wait a bit. But the rollout, it is what it is. You can't cover the whole wide world and get it tomorrow. And we're so used to having everything so quickly that we can't comprehend. But I came to the realization it will come to me when I need to get it. So I think the rollout is fine, personally.
Honestly, I think it's doing okay. Again, like if you listen to some of the reporting that we've seen, really prioritizing about who's going to be getting that first. I certainly do agree with that approach. Even on PEI and how that's being rolled out, it's quite encouraging to actually have a vaccine and knowing that the messaging that we've been hearing is that everyone is going to get one. It's just a matter of being patient, and in the meantime, wear your masks, keep social distancing, stay home when you can. So it's very positive. Like I'm feeling very optimistic about that.
A little slow, like everybody. A little slow. Yeah, well, it's understandable. I don't blame them. A lot of people to get vaccinated.
I work at the hospital, so they have been, slowly starting to vaccinate healthcare workers and, of course, long-term care clients. So, yeah, I hope to be one of those people soon.
I don't have a whole lot of complaints about it. I'm happy it's here and being rolled out. And I'll just wait my turn, kind of deal.
Ontario and Quebec have been seeing the highest numbers of COVID cases in the country. For Quebec, it's resulted in a nighttime curfew throughout much of the province. As for Ontario, it's resulted in a second state of emergency and a second lockdown. While health experts advise us this is what's needed, are these measures too drastic, or are they just what the doctor ordered? Our question.
Are curfews and lockdowns the right approach?
I think they definitely are working, yeah, for sure. I think that it was very wise to limit these social interactions within the household, but I also feel as though there's inconsistencies within the restrictions, and we're allowed to be hundreds of people in a mall and in restaurants, but we're also not allowed to see our parents. And I understand that fully, but I think that there are some inconsistencies that are hard to reconcile in my mind. But I'm fully for restrictions, lockdown. I think it's really needed and necessary during this time for sure.
I actually felt pretty proud that in here we could have some self-manage, that we didn't need the intervention of the government to take care of this. So, and I guess the first few months it was very successful. But it feels like with the latest numbers that everything has increased, that it might make sense to remind some people that this is serious and to not relax. I can understand that people get tired, but just not take their guard off, basically.
I'm glad we don't have a curfew here. I do like the freedom to sort of be responsible. The lockdowns, I mean, it's science. It tells us we have to do it, so can't really fight that.
Well, I believe that we should listen to the authorities. We're very lucky in this province to have Dr. Bonnie Henry. We've got to listen to the science. We can't listen to the some of the silly chatter about the political background of all of this. So if, I feel safe in British Columbia. We're out and about. If there was to be a lockdown, I'd respect that. So we're all being careful, but, looking for direction from, in particular, Dr. Henry.
I keep asking and wondering, what is it that they did or did not do in Quebec and Ontario that has, I understand the population is greater, but what was the problem initially? Did we jump on the bandwagon quickly and adhere to guidelines? Did they not? Were the politicians a bit more interested in the economy? So I don't have a definitive answer, but I too am pretty pleased with what's happening here. We both are careful. We go out. We live a life a little more boring than it used to be, but what is it that we're doing better here? I'd be curious to know.
I think definitely, being from the UK myself, I've definitely followed the numbers there more, and they're in a really, really bad state, and I don't want to see Canada get to the state that they are in. So I think having curfews and lockdowns before we get that bad is really important. We're not having curfews in BC at the moment, so haven't experienced it myself to say, but I definitely do think it's important that we are cracking down before the numbers peak too badly.
If it's for the good of everyone, then I would say yes. However, it does give me a bit of anxiety. I don't know if it will be the best thing to do. However, if there's any science that can back up that will make things better for everyone, including like less cases or less infections going around the city, then, I guess I will say yes.
And how about yourself, sir?
Yeah, I mean, assuming that it's for the good of the population as a whole, depends on how it's rolled out and how specific things are affected. There's been some kind of conflicting information in BC specifically from Bonnie Henry and Adrian Dix. So assuming that the message is clear and there's kind of science to back it up, I think it's a reasonable thing.
These temporary measures for 2 weeks or 3 weeks will allow it to rest if everybody does what they're supposed to. The problem is these things have not worked because people are not doing what they're supposed to.
Very much so. I think we have been handling the lockdowns, the restrictions, and everything very appropriately. I think they've been strict in some areas, and they've eased when they can, and they've been very flexible in terms of when they have stricter enforcements and when they pull those back. And I think overall we have a lot of liberties here nowadays compared to other places because we've been very strict with our approach.
I think that it's really dependent on every situation, depending on where you live. How people treat it really determines how you should be treated. I mean, if you're going to act like it's not serious and you're going to go out touching people and hanging out and having parties, then yeah, put people in lockdown and give them curfews and treat them like children. But if we can act like grown-ups and we can all stay safe and do our part, then it'll work out well for us.
Yeah, I guess we need to do what we have to do. We've been very, very fortunate here, so haven't been impacted as much on PEI, but yeah, I think if I was in Ontario or some of those other places, I would want to get this under control quickly.
Well, you mentioned that you're on PEI and it's different here.
Yes.
Why is it different?
I think we're smaller and we've been able to contain it.
No, people should be able to look after themselves that way. I could see air traffic being shut down. Sorry for the airlines, but that's a no-no. But I mean, other than that, I think everybody should be able to police themselves, but they can't.
I think they're necessary in some places just to make sure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to do and staying safe and keeping everybody else safe.
Parliament consists of how many parts? Is it 1, 2, or 3? The answer is 3. Parliament consists of 3 parts: the monarch, the Senate, and the House of Commons. These 3 parts combine to decide laws and determine policies. The monarch. Queen Elizabeth II is our head of state, but her powers are limited by the Constitution. This system is known as a constitutional monarchy. Her official duties are usually carried out by the Governor-General. The Senate. Canada's Senate consists of 105 members from across Canada, which acts essentially as a reviewing chamber on proposed bills before they are passed, which is why it is also known as the Chamber of Sober Second Thought. The House of Commons. Members of Parliament propose, debate, and vote on legislation. They are elected to the House from 338 different areas of the country, which are also called ridings. Together, these three parts decide on policies and laws that affect all Canadians.
As we hear about new variants showing up in different parts of the country, health experts are advising Canadians that this is much more contagious and we should exercise more caution. Recently, Canada just hit the 20,000 mark in terms of COVID deaths. So we took to the streets to ask Canadians if they're taking these warnings seriously. Our question:
has a new coronavirus variant made you more cautious?
A little bit, because I don't know enough, maybe, and it seems to maybe even possibly multiple variants in different countries. So, yeah, that definitely makes me a little bit nervous. Yeah,
a little bit, but I'm hoping that the vaccine can be altered or things added so that they can get some control over that as well.
Somewhat, but from what they're saying, that just because it's a variant doesn't mean that the vaccine that we have now will not deal with that variant. And that's still up in the air, but it seems to be on the side that what we're doing now will deal with it if we get the vaccine in time.
Yeah, that's very concerning. Just because it's more infectious, the spread is easier. So if it came here, our systems could be overwhelmed very quickly. So far, we don't seem to have the variant in PEI. We haven't had any cases yet that we're aware of. So fingers crossed.
A little bit, you know, I have questions like, is the vaccine going to work for the new variants? And there's just a lot of unknowns in this whole situation, so it is a little concerning, you know.
Not really. I don't really know enough about the science of what the variants are, so I knew from the outset that there could be mutations, and so what that would mean, it's hard to know. Are they going to be worse than or easier to deal with? I don't think we know enough about that at this point.
I think that it can make people really nervous to hear that there's a new variant, but I think that we have to remember that it's the same problem. It's just something that might be more contagious. So we just need to continue to be aware and just need to continue to maintain those safety things that are implemented for everybody. And I think that as long as you do that, we can still be A-okay. We don't have to rock the boat. So
no, we've been quite cautious. There's going to be one variant and there'll be more variants. There'll be thousands of variants. So I can't get too uptight about that.
You're pretty confident that the vaccine will handle it?
Well, if it doesn't, I still can't get too freaked out about it, right?
Yeah. And yourself? A similar question. Has the new variant made you more concerned? Has it changed?
No, it's a virus. They're going to keep changing and mutating. As long as your body is prepared to receive it and your system is healthy. The vaccine, but more than the vaccine also is your own capacity of defense.
Hasn't really changed anything for me personally. I work from home. I don't really leave the house apart from to get groceries or to go for a walk. And so really since March, I haven't really changed how I've been living. I haven't been into the office in almost a year. And so with this new variant, I definitely do hope people are being more cautious. But for me personally, my life hasn't really changed that much.
Not really. I'm aware of them. I think, as long as the health departments and the scientists are on top of it and they kind of inform the population that this is what's going on, and everyone kind of keeps doing their part, does the social distancing, does the masks thing, hopefully it'll be okay.
And your thoughts?
Well, when I first read about it, especially in media outlets, it kind of worried me a little. But then I, thought about other diseases in the past that, there's always a variant and it affects people differently. So I got to think about maybe from past stuff that has happened before, maybe we can learn from that and see if that can be something that there's something that we can do about it. And I just hope things get better soon, for sure.
Honestly, no, because I saw some a study that showed that it's just as effective, the vaccine against the new variant, so I'm honestly not worried about it, no.
I was kind of anticipating this when I read about it, about viruses, how they work. It was just a matter of time that this was going to happen. I would imagine that some variations will be more dangerous than others, that they will spread more quickly, faster. So in general, I wasn't surprised, but I'm actually surprised that they have not been that bad. I mean, apparently they just spread faster, but not necessarily more dangerous.
No, I mean, variants are a part of virology, so you kind of have to expect that to happen. It hasn't changed my routines at all. I've been basically isolated for the last couple months, so basically standard issue, continue isolation until vaccine rollout is fully completed.
Yeah, it's scary like seeing on the news that it's in Vancouver, but I'm actually not as scared because I feel like it's just like I've gone this long without even catching the virus. So I should be, but I think people are a little like numb to it now, I feel like.
Recently, the Prime Minister announced that international travel in Canada is about to become a lot more complicated. Beginning February 3rd, all international flights into this country can only land in Vancouver, Calgary, Toronto, or Montreal. Upon arrival, Canadians must take a mandatory COVID test and then wait at a government-approved hotel for about 3 days at their own expense. But before these decisions were made, we took this question to Canadians.
Is the federal government strict enough with non-essential international travel?
People are taking trips and going places that putting themselves at risk, they're putting their families and everybody else when they come back at risk. It makes no sense. You know, I can't think of too many reasons that would call you away. Yes, it's sad when you lose a family member or whatever that you can't be there for the funerals, but is it better to have them over there and you here? If you go over there, you can come back and take 2 or 3 other people with you.
It's interesting that we've been able to curtail travel within Canada, and yet we're reluctant to prevent people from going on vacations overseas. So I'm not sure why that hesitancy.
It's just it's spreading different variants of this virus, and it's just not necessary. That is one unnecessary travel you don't have to do. Just like you don't have to go off the island, don't go off the island. That's the same thing.
I don't think we should be doing it if we can avoid it. I mean, some people may need to for whatever reason, but like you said, non-essential, so maybe it's not. I'm not going on vacation this year anyway, and I'd love to.
I think travel restrictions are probably good. I thought that from the outset that the travel would have to be very much restricted, and I think for PEI, the Atlantic bubble and then the closing of the Atlantic bubble has been very effective. I've been very supportive of those restrictions, so I think there has to be probably travel restrictions in place for a longer period of time.
No, I don't. They have to be more strict. Because there's too many people coming in on flights and spreading the disease.
I think it's strict enough in principle. Enforcement is a little lax seemingly. It's a self-isolation, it's not a quarantine, it's relying on people to report themselves. Seeing politicians and people in positions of power go on vacation over Christmas and kind of disregard the advice is a little disheartening, especially when people are using that as an example and seeing other people do that, and it's gonna affect them as well.
I don't think they're strict enough. I think there are people in positions of power and leadership who have seemed to go through the loopholes and gone on trips, which is frustrating for sure because they should be leading all of us in the restrictions that we're all supposed to be following. And so I don't think it's strict enough, no, personally.
Well, I think it should be enforced, and I think it's shameful what some, particularly people who know better, have done. politicians and others who have traveled. But there are things, instruments like having a COVID test before you fly to Europe, for example, quarantine upon arrival. Those things are all good. So I don't think we should need to shut down travel totally, but we sure need to respect some of these rules.
Totally agree, particularly quarantine coming back. We can't control everybody leaving the country, but we can certainly monitor people coming back in. And the 14-day quarantine, I don't know how well it's monitored, but I would like to see stricter monitoring of it.
I'll definitely admit I'm not too happy to see a lot of people being a little bit entitled and going on personal travel like that. I understand certain types of travel are gray areas and kind of, maybe need to be, or it's like for mental health kind of purposes. But, vacationing, I would definitely like to see a little bit more control, just to try and put some sort of prevention or some sort of friction on people doing that. Even if there's just like the tiniest amount of consequences, I think that'll actually slow it down a little bit.
I don't necessarily think the restriction on non-essential travel is strong enough, but it's good that we're still closing the border between the U.S. and other countries as well. Because we only have one border, I guess, or two.
I have been following them. I haven't been home in over a year. And so I would hope that people are not traveling for non-essential reasons. I'm not really sure how they're enforcing that over the borders. So I can't really comment on whether they are being strict enough.
I haven't been in a place where I can judge if they're enough or not. But I do agree that as much as we keep it in one country or in one county, in one city, it's easier to deal with it than if everybody's moving up and down everywhere.
And how about yourself, sir? The travel restrictions?
I think it's good. I mean, I don't know how strict it is. I don't know if it can be any stricter, but I think that it helps to have it in place because it makes people think twice. We were going to take a trip back in November, and we went on travel restriction here in BC, and we just didn't go. Nothing happened.
Thanks for watching this episode of Outburst on the Cable Public Affairs channel. I'm Glenn McGuinness. If you have any comments about this show or any other show, you can find us on social media. You can also find us on our website at www.cpac.ca. It's your turn to speak up, and we're listening.